rest of your travel. I want to take you apart, but why do we have to go when you're in this condition? I can't understand it.
It was poisonous. Prabhupada talked about there being people in our movement who aren't devotees, that they're here for ulterior motives. It was poisonous. Prabhupada talked about there being people in our movement who aren't devotees, that they're here for ulterior motives.
What's over?
My duty with Srila Prabhupada's secretary were to assist him in any way that I could, and to further his mood, whatever that happened to be. And of course, in the last 1 or 2 months, the reading of mail to Prabhupada became a matter of simply trying to give him pleasure, rather than to inform him of the affairs of society. So this means that there was a necessity on my part to discriminate over which letters should be read to him, and even which parts of the letters were read to him. Only good news was read to him. Apart from his correspondence, the secretary had to handle all of the various accounts which Srila Prabhupada was personally responsible for, accounts, bank accounts, both in his personal name as well as in the name of the Mayapur Vrindavan Fund and other things of this kind. And but perhaps the most important for service and activity, and in fact that which predominated the most towards the end of Srila Prabhupada's appearance, was to simply give him some submissive company to be with him. He liked to have his senior disciples surrounding him, and actually wanted the secretary to be there and to talk with him, to massage his body, and as a regular function, in fact, it was my duty to bathe and dress him every morning also. And he liked that I should have the morning shift taken care of him from about 5 o'clock in the morning until about 9 o'clock in the morning, so that when he woke up, the secretary would be there, and we would have him sit him up, rub and scratch his back. He would talk about what he had been thinking of the previous day. Also, he wanted the secretary to act more or less as the chief nurse of the kind, or I wouldn't say chief nurse, that's not correct, but he, in terms of Prabhupada's medicines, he would always have his secretary give the final conclusive opinion over what steps he should take, what treatments he should take. I think these were more or less the duties of the secretary.
Tamal has now described at length exactly how intimate and confidential his service to Srila Prabhupada as his personal secretary actually was. How he would do whatever Srila Prabhupada asked of him, absolutely anything he was asked, or supposedly asked, that is. Yes, Tamal actually understood Srila Prabhupada very well. And yet, as we shall see, he also had a very dark side, too. It is natural to wonder who Tamal really was. Someone else in disguise? And now for the bombshell that reveals his actual mentality and character.
I was going to wait for the perfect time to say this, but to me the incidents which stick most on my mind now are how in the last few months Srila Prabhupada was constantly asked to be allowed to die peacefully. And how he would constantly succumb to the request of his disciples not to leave us. Our relationship with Srila Prabhupada has always been one of total submissiveness and complete
What's with the umming? Nervous or something? And does allow imply helping Srila Prabhupada to die?
So, our position with Srila Prabhupada was one of complete submissiveness to his orders, his instructions, his desires. Just like a menial servant. It's hardly the position of the servant to, in any way, strongly request the master for anything. He should simply receive the instruction or order and carry it out. Yet we found in the later months, in the most recent months, that Srila Prabhupada seemed to be demanding from us a different type of attitude and emotion, at least especially from his most personal, servants.
Okay, finally, Tamal gets out what he is struggling to say.
A number of times he would say, "Can you give me a medicine? Please give me a medicine that will allow me to disappear now." Another time he said, I want most now to disappear. I want to die peacefully. Let me die peacefully. Now, on one hand, we could take it and give him that medicine or let him stop eating and fast until death. We could have done that. We could have done that. We could have done that.
So there it is. That is what he could have done. Given poison to die, and then say that Srila Prabhupada had asked for it. Only the most intimate servant like Tamal could be called upon to do this most difficult service, the ultimate call of duty, and poison his guru. Of course, even though there are plenty of tapes for October and November 77, we don't find anywhere on any of them any conversations of Srila Prabhupada asking for medicine or poison that would quickly end his life. This is an outrageous fabrication by Tamal, so outrageous that he himself could not get up the nerve to fully come out with this line of lies, and it was never brought up again until Isha found this tape in his closet.
And yet it seemed that, of course, we could not do that out of our love for him.
What? Srila Prabhupada asked for medicine to die? Medicine that causes death is actually poison, not medicine. Tamal says this different type of demand, namely assisting Srila Prabhupada to disappear now, seemed difficult due to their love for him. He says they could not do that, but also we could have done that. But Tamal did not clearly state what they actually did. Did he give poison as a medicine?
And he seemed to respond so beautifully to that our loving requests that he would not leave, that he please stay with us longer. I think we all had the feeling, at least a few of us who were in his personal attendance, that there wasn't really a question that he would live for a long time. But even though it was only a short time, we wanted him to stay with us. And he would bring us to the point of complete despair. He would stop all doctors, all medicines, and bring us to the point where there was no return, where he would say, now there's nothing left but for me to die. And this would bring within us such a great anxiety that after a time we would just beg him, appeal to him, please, Srila Prabhupada, we need you, please stay with us. And when the degree of our appeal reached a strong enough level, then he would say, all right, I won't leave. Give me something to drink. Call this Kaviraj. I'll stay with you. So in a sense, he was deepening our affection. And in fact, when I brought this up the last time it happened, afterwards I felt such relief. I said to him, Srila Prabhupada, you're driving us mad the way you're dealing with us. You put us to the point of complete, total despair, and then again you give relief by agreeing to remain with us. In this way, you're simply deepening our affection.
So, just see how cleverly Tamal has mixed up different things to make his euthanasia claims sound plausible. It's one thing how Srila Prabhupada had resigned himself, after all efforts with medicines and doctors had failed, to accept a natural death and to continue his service to Krishna elsewhere. But it's entirely another thing how Tamal confuses this resignation with Srila Prabhupada supposedly asking to be assisted with a poison to die now. I can only say that Tamal was a very twisted and devious person. His words establish this to be so, not mine.
Srila Prabhupada said very calmly, that is simply my duty. It's not that is my duty. In fact, for one who heard him say that, it was very apparent that indeed he was actually dealing with us in such a way as to make us demonstrate more and more our eternal dependence and necessity of being with him and needing him. He said to me that I want to at least travel around the world one more time. This is just before we went to London. He said, because if I can go around the world once more, I can strengthen this movement and the disciples. I can strengthen their love for Krishna more. So because of his physical condition did not permit this, we found that he did this simply by laying in bed. And by his expert handling of our devotional creepers, he trained us and helped us to become more and more lovingly attached to him, and in that way attached to Krishna. Therefore, I feel that these last months with Prabhupada were the most important months I ever spent with him.
It is quite amazing how well Tamal jumps from his ridiculous mercy-killing claims back to playing the role of the most intimate personal secretary of His Divine Grace. It's also amazing how Srila Prabhupada accommodated this schizoid dichotomy of poisoner and servant.
And somehow I feel that by seeing the way he acted and the way he dealt with me personally, that I'll be you can take this part off, this last sentence. Somehow I feel okay. I mean, I want to say something, but I prefer not to say it.
So what else was Tamal going to say? Why is it that he hesitates to say something that he wants to say? Is he afraid we maybe won't understand how the penultimate act of Tamal's loyalty to Srila Prabhupada was to assist him to disappear? That Srila Prabhupada trusted Tamal in his final test of submission at the risk of being condemned by others?
Now a different kind of question. Right in the beginning, without too much explanation, you were talking about Prabhupada asking for something to let him disappear, and that he wanted to die.
Clearly, Satsvarupa understood and accepted the mercy-killing scenario, and he wanted to explore it further. Within weeks of this private interview, he also became one of the select few initiating ISKCON gurus, assuming command of a piece of ISKCON assets. Was he one of the at least a few of us whom Srila Prabhupada called upon to help him die now? Or was Satsvarupa just a silent consentor? Or was he just an accessory after the fact? This is why we want to interview Satsvarupa. How can he be repeating the claim that Srila Prabhupada wanted poison to die in a mercy killing and not be implicated in the now scientifically proven poisoning? He knew about it in 77, but has remained absolutely silent on the matter ever since. Satsvarupa, we have questions for you.
Therefore, Prabhupada once said, recently he said, it is becoming unbearable. Becoming unbearable. We can understand that it wasn't simply the material pain that was becoming unbearable, but that Prabhupada also wanted to be with Krishna and not be burdened with this physically incapacitated body. We're a little busy. Just making this. Oh yeah, painful. That why should he be burdened or with this physically, burdensome form?
So this is Tamal's idea, that Srila Prabhupada was burdened and incapacitated by his old material body, and he thus wanted an assisted suicide. Preposterous. This is a clever defense for poisoning Srila Prabhupada and then taking his place. And someone is writing a biography of Tamal as though he was the best thing to ever happen to Srila Prabhupada's mission. Actually, Tamal was the worst thing to ever happen to the Hare Krishna movement. To say it nicely, he was the black sheep of the devotee family. Under the guise of useful service, he has wrought disaster upon Srila Prabhupada's hard work, and now, in his own words, his true colors have been revealed. So, we have a mysterious, undiagnosed illness. Tamal and others whispering about poisoning just before Srila Prabhupada departs, and just after Srila Prabhupada announced that he thought he was being poisoned. We have lethal amounts of cadmium discovered in Srila Prabhupada's hair, and thus his body. And now Tamal saying he was asked by Srila Prabhupada to poison him to death with some medicine? After which Tamal organizes the 11 zonal acharyas with their big lie that they were appointed as successor gurus and that they had become pure devotees by Prabhupada's blessings. This mercy-killing interview is a very big piece of evidence as to what really happened in 77. And ISKCON has never offered any explanation for Tamal, the mercy killer. Why? Because ISKCON today is still run and controlled by those who participated in or know about and have benefited from Srila Prabhupada's poisoning 40 years ago. The entire ISKCON leadership is complicit in the crime of the millennium. ISKCON members, disassociate yourselves now for your own good.
But Prabhupada is present as much, more so, in his instructions than physically. Prabhupada says that Vani is more important than Vapu. So, if by the Acharya's appearance he brings order from chaos, then who is to say that Prabhupada is not still present? He reasons ill, and you quote that verse. Therefore, we do not feel that Prabhupada has died. Otherwise, if we felt that way, it would be unbearable to live. we regret the loss of his physical presence, but we are consoled by his eternal presence in the form of his instructions. And therefore we are very hopeful that the order which he has created will continue to exist for many thousands of years to come.
Again, we see how Tamal lures us with his mask of Guru Bhakti and his intelligent exposition of the philosophy. But his ploy is to create trust in him and other deviant misleaders who have totally ruined Srila Prabhupada's divine mission since 77. The sacred books are being endlessly changed, thus losing their transcendental potency. Men, women, and children have been abused in the most damaging ways. Varnashram has been neglected, temples and farms sold. Defective doctrines on reinitiation, Diksha Guru approvals, and social welfare work have been established contrary to Srila Prabhupada's teachings. Mission and asset drift, Sahajism, Hinduization, corruption of all sorts, unaccountability, and entrenched leadership, deity worship and kirtans that are not the same anymore, stage jumping and break dancing, secularity and liberalism, academic compromise, false prophets, politics, force, and even violence, internal confusion and disarray on all sides. And Tamal was the architect of deviation from 1977 to 2002. He was the primary party who injected all these poisons into the body of the mission. He did it by fooling others with his cleverness and intelligence, but now we can see through it all. This interview seals it. 150 pages in our book of the real Tamal as evidence finds him guilty beyond a reasonable doubt of poisoning Srila Prabhupada's body and then his mission too. Writes, Srila Prabhupada repeatedly asked for medicine to die, so there was no crime in poisoning Srila Prabhupada because that was what he wanted. Tamal was not responsible for poisoning Srila Prabhupada because Srila Prabhupada wanted to die. And Tamal was just following orders, faithfully serving Srila Prabhupada's final wishes. Thank goodness Tamal is gone, and may the Lord have mercy on his soul.
This program. It seems to some of us like it's suicidal.
And this is also suicidal.
Prabhupada said, and this is also suicidal. Now you have to choose what it is.
Ravan will kill, and I will kill. Better to be killed right now. What is it? If he does not go, then Mr. Gita, he will kill right now. If he goes,